Alright, everybody, gonna do my ritual check the stream on my YouTube. See if I can hear everything alright. And then we'll get into the meat. I'm gonna turn up my mic a little bit here. And where we go. So, I got a lot of flack and a lot of criticism while going live for almost an hour yesterday discussing all the recent events going on across the nation. And you know what? In my personal life too, I've been facing these same people who all of a sudden want to do the flowery, peaceful protest when, a year ago when things were normal. Fuck Colin Kaepernick and all that, right? Here's the thing. I refuse to take any moral judgment and any moral advice, for that matter, from the present day neocon or populist conservatives. And I'll tell you why. And I just thought about this today too. They want to condemn parents for bringing their children along for protests, which I don't necessarily agree with. But what I don't agree with more is the fact that little kids are getting fucking mazed. These are the same people who were joking, not even a year ago, less than a year ago, close to a year ago, but still less than a year ago. For 4 or 5 months, making jokes on Facebook, crappy jabs, all around apathy, or general disinterest in the treatment of children in ICE detention centers where they died and went there to die because of poor malpractice and not adequate staffing on those ICE concentration camps. So those same people nearly a year later are going to turn around and point the finger at everybody protesting and saying, this is not the way you do it. I'm not going to sit around and listen to anybody who is even remotely slightly in favor of this and did not once speak out against the treatment of the migrants, the illegal migrants in the ICE detention centers, the kids that were dying of preventable diseases, had there been adequate medical staffing at these facilities. So don't turn around and tell people how to act when you either didn't care or were laughing about the fact that innocent men, women, and children who hopped over here to make a better life for themselves risk dying of a virus, of a disease, of a bacterial infection in a ICE detention camp. And I'm going to play, or I'll pay the conservative population of the United States of America and play that game where, yeah, not every single conservative was dancing around saying, fuck those migrant children, or was completely apathetic. And I'm sure there were some that were there condemning these actions, which is all fine and good. But from my perspective and from what I've seen personally and what from other people have seen personally, it wasn't like that at all. I don't even think I recall seeing one person who considered themselves a core of the GOP. I'm not talking about outliers like the Libertarian Party, anarcho-capitalists. It would make sense for them to condemn that. That's their position, open borders and so on and so forth. But I'm talking about the hardline conservatives in the United States of America, the Trump supporters, the neoconservatives, the war hawks, whatever label you want to put on these type of people. Didn't say one word. Either that or outright laughed at the conditions, laughed in spite of these children men and women. So don't tell me, or don't tell anybody protesting how to protest and how to act. It'd be a lot different, I would imagine, if American citizens of all walks of life were treated with the same dignity and respect and rights and peace of mind. So let me break it down for you. They don't care about the migrants because they aren't white. They don't care about the protesters because they're majority black, for the most part. And don't care about black issues. If this doesn't apply to you, then good. But if you're getting boiled up, I'm sure the shoe fits, and stay mad. And hell, we even got that hacker now that released that all these documents of Jeffrey Epstein's little black book and Donald Trump's court case from 1994, where he raped, then Jeffrey Epstein raped an underage girl. Oh, I wonder why they don't talk anymore. Trump tried to distance himself so much, saying he was a weird guy. You typically don't talk to the people you get convicted with or you go to court with. Makes sense. I'll be the first to say it. My thing is, there's some type of link between the Epsteins and the Clintons, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if either Jeff Epstein originally ran or Hillary Clinton has been running the show since 1996. All of them are in bed together. You don't live in a democracy. You live in an oligarchy. And to think us former Republicans or people who are still currently Republicans and just now waking up to the sad, sad reality of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was talking Trump up as some outlier, and I should have listened to the left back then, that at the time we're going on and saying, you don't have a choice, you just have the illusion of choice. Look at this photo from 1993. The Clintons and the Trumps have been talking highly about each other, conveniently up until the presidential election of 2016 and the pre-election season. Now, I'll tell you what, too. Me and a family member and a few other people have been noticing something if we think back. Now, I know some people that have actually remember in early 2016, a few months before the election time came around, that they were plugging the story about Donald Trump, then it seemingly vanished. Now, I remember one quite similar where I believe that Trump and his ex-wife got in an argument. She ripped his hair out because he was acting like a maniac, and I think the court documents suggested that it would have been like a domestic violence situation. Guess you can't find anything on that either. And yet, it doesn't take long for these people, these super populist conservatives, to stand up and defend Trump. What facts do you have? What facts do you have? What are you talking about? The proof is in the pudding. The whole thing that supports this is a court document from 1994 and the fact that they settled it out of court. Now, what do you think settled it out of court means? It means some rich turd went and saw how much money it would take to shut this family the hell up. That's what settling out of court means. You'd think if someone was being wrongly accused of something, they would keep fighting this in the legal system and execute a counter lawsuit for defamation of character or something of that nature. But that didn't happen. What happened? Settled out of court, swept under the rug until now, and a little bit in 2016. Otherwise, no one remembers this about Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Proof. I need proof. Your proof's right there. That's the whole thing that sparked this, is an actual legal document. Now, guess what's going to happen? It's a Democrat hoax. It got forged. They've done all this. They've incited riots against me, and they've went on and caused the coronavirus Democrat hoax to try to stifle my chances against creepy Uncle Joe Biden. Oh, I guarantee you it's coming. And here's what I got to say. At this juncture, I've always said for a long time, for years, that I think that if Donald Trump won, he would get a re-election too. But with this stuff, this last year has just been fumble after fumble on a health and a global pandemic issue, fumble on trying to settle down the population of the United States. And now we got this dirty drop leak. I mean, what do you think? Hey, I'm not going to tell people how to vote because you know how I already feel about the whole Joe Biden situation. Yeah, it's me. They're both the same way. It's just a matter of time before Joe Biden has a leak. And I'm sure we'll see that too. At this rate, we might see an obscure court document from 40 years ago about Joe Biden assaulting a young girl. I mean, we already got that one lady that was a former staffer of his claiming that she was sexually assaulted by him on a couple occasions. I just can't understand. I'm trying hard to understand this current conservative psyche, right? If you're me, where you're in that gap between the last of the millennials and the first of Gen Z, your grandparents are probably baby boomers and your parents are Gen X. Like me, I was born in 1996. 23 years old. Not that that's relevant, but here's what I'm trying to say. You got these new, this new odd conservative wave, right? And they all are for freedom and justice for all. And well, that's a fucking lie. Look at all the black protesters and all the allies they're spitting in the face of. You need to peacefully protest. Now, when you peacefully protest, I'm going to make a 15-minute rant in my fucking pickup truck. You know, the type I'm talking about. So I did everything myself. Big ass fucking beard and a flat bill hat looking like a reject Fred Durst. Sitting there and basically being patronizing to these type of people. But at the same time, we had our grandparents that saw pretty much the majority of the totalitarian regimes of the Soviet Union and China and North Korea, and we have our parents that were 20 something odd years old or maybe even younger when they saw the collapse of the Soviet Union and the evils following. But these same people will call them such dictator totalitarian regimes and then turn around and say, man, the pledge should be compulsory. Desecrating the flag should be illegal. Disrespecting troops should be illegal. You would think you would catch the logical inconsistency with that, but I guess it just goes out the window because I feel like at this point, and I hate to be cliche when I say it, but people get so fucking polarized and brainwashed that all common sense goes right out the window. And I'm tired of these people saying, well, these libtards, pussies get so mad and they can say whatever they want. But as soon as we say something, they get mad. Well, we aren't the ones, for the most part, I would imagine, advocating for snow plowing entire rows of protesters. And from the way I see it, as a person that's been on the ground making political content since July of 2014, all I've seen is since post Gamergate, and this is my generation, Gen Z and Millennial, I've seen nothing But dim-witted, half-witted, idiotic, right-wing, traditionalist, moralist, YouTube content creators that can't even make a video showing their face and have to hide behind these stupid, poorly drawn animal mascots go on and tell you how they know everything about the world and hoist themselves up as a skeptic, when really they're just playing devil's advocate for 30 minutes and trying to inject their personal agenda into the video. Now, at least I'm transparent about it. I try to keep everything at least on the fact basis. I try to tell it straight. I don't try to put a bent on it, but you damn well know I'm going to give my take on it too. I don't try to do all these underhanded tricks. That's why people are pissed off, and there's great culture war between conservatism and progressive individuals, because you got these people sitting at the top not having to bust their ass for a thing in their life and not have to worry about continuously day in and day out fighting, spewing their same, your same rhetoric at them, going around and saying that they're these oppressed people. You don't know a damn thing about being oppressed and ostracized from social groups because of your political and social leanings. And I can't even imagine what it's like for minorities or other people of other faiths that are heavily persecuted in the Western world, the white world, the acceptable white world. I can't understand. So you sit here and you talk out your ass thinking that you're this underdog, when really you and your ilk have been running the show since the 50s. It gets a little better, it gets a little worse, depending on the year, depending on the time, depending on the sitting president. But for the most part, the affluent, wealthy white male has been running the show for years, for decades. And you got all your grandparents sitting there saying you're horribly misguided. All that stuff brings your blood to a boil, because grandma's sitting there sharing memes, talking shit about Muslims when they weren't even the ones responsible for 9/11. And how dare the United States, a place that has hoisted itself as a beacon of tolerance to all walks of faith and all races for the past, at least on paper, for 50 years, 60 years. How dare they allow Muslims in their ranks? Do you listen to some of the shit you hear? You say, I mean, come on. That's patently absurd and patently a double standard. It makes no sense. None of this stuff makes sense. Don't kneel. These are the same people going out when Colin Kaepernick got that Nike sponsorship and Nike stood behind them, said, yeah, kneel at the football game. What did these people do? They went out and made a fool of themselves and went out and bought fucking $70 Nike shoes or whatever Nike products they had in the household and burn it. And you want to tell people they're being snowflakes? They're being snowflakes over a murdered black man, over a pattern of murdered minorities at the hands of people that have been sworn in to serve and protect their community, while you get huffy and puffy in your own little bubble, gets poked just a little bit. So you go out to a strip mall and buy a few pairs of Nike shoes, take all the hoodies out of your son's fucking closet and any other sweatpants you can find with that swoosh logo, and you go burn them in the middle of public. Give me a break. Get a reality check. What do you think people say? Check your privilege. Goodness gracious. It's absurd. And that's what it boils down to, folks. I'm not trying to be long-winded and keep this going for an epic amount of time like I did yesterday. But this current neoconservative bullshit is just a bunch of double standards and throwing stones at glass windows. Same people who didn't give a shit about Hispanic kids dying due to preventable illnesses last year are going to tell you what to do with your child at a protest and not hold any cop accountable for macing the fuck out of a kid or throwing a tear gas canister that they know has kids in that crowd. Get real. Anyways, that's all I got to say for now. Until next time, and I'll have a shaved, smooth, baby-ass face.